Live love instead of jealousy. Love or jealousy, such antagonistic feelings. Who has never found themselves twisting inside with that consuming fire that is the feeling of a jealous person? This is not good for anyone, but how to solve this? Let's find out through Lucas's story. But first, one thing before I ask you. Don't forget to comment and share your own story to encourage other people as well. In a small town, there lived a young man named Lucas. He was known for his generosity and talent as a craftsman, but he carried a heavy burden inside, well known to us, jealousy. The problem was that Lucas was always comparing himself to others, which brought a feeling of fear that his friends and colleagues were better or more loved than him. Although Lucas created beautiful wooden pieces that delighted everyone, he could not free himself from the feeling of always being second. Jealousy corroded his heart, creating invisible barriers between him and the most important people in his life. His personal life also suffered. In his relationship with Clara, a young doctor from the town, jealousy was a constant visitor. Lucas doubted Clara's loyalty and often felt threatened by her colleagues. The discussions were frequent, and although Clara tried to understand and support Lucas, the weight of jealousy began to wear down the love they had built. One night, after an intense argument with Clara, Lucas sat alone in his workshop. He held an unfinished sculpture, reflecting on the impact of jealousy on his life. He remembered his grandfather's words.
"Love is the best source of motivation."
These words echoed in his mind, bringing new hope. Perhaps the key to his liberation lay in learning to love in a different way, not just others, but himself as well. And so, with a heavy heart, but a spark of hope, Lucas decided it was time to seek true change. But little did he know that this journey would lead him to discover the transformative power of love and free him from the clutches of jealousy. Days passed, and although the decision to change was present in his mind, Lucas still struggled against his old habits. Everything culminated in an event that would serve as a turning point in his life. It was a sunny morning when Lucas received an invitation to exhibit his sculptures in a renowned art gallery in the neighboring city. The opportunity was a dream for any craftsman, but with the excitement came a shadow of doubt.
What if the works of other artists were better? What if no one was interested in his creations?
Lucas decided to accept the challenge, but the anxiety grew as the day of the exhibition approached. Clara, always by his side, tried to calm his fears, but he found himself increasingly immersed in negative thoughts. The night before the exhibition, Clara received a call from a colleague asking for help with an emergency at the hospital. Lucas, already weakened by the tension, felt jealousy boiling inside him.
Why does he always call you? Aren't there other doctors at the hospital?
Lucas asked, trying to keep his voice calm but failing miserably. Clara sighed, a mixture of tiredness and frustration in her eyes.
Lucas, it's my job. You know that. Please trust me.
But Lucas couldn't. He spent the night awake, ruminating on the call, imagining scenarios that fed his jealousy even more. The next day, with the nerves on edge, he went to the gallery, barely able to concentrate on setting up his pieces. The exhibition began, and soon the room was filled with people admiring the artworks. However, Lucas couldn't enjoy the moment. His eyes scanned the room incessantly, comparing his works with those of other artists, looking for signs of approval, or disapproval, on the visitors' faces. Amidst the turmoil, he heard two people talking near one of his sculptures.
"This piece is interesting, but did you see Sophia's work? It's simply magnificent."
This comment, though not a direct criticism, hit Lucas like an arrow. He felt jealousy and insecurity growing, threatening to suffocate him. Trying to escape the pain, he retreated to a small room at the back of the gallery. There he sat with his head in his hands, feeling the weight of his emotions. It was in this moment of crisis that something surprising happened. A soft, familiar voice called him. It was Clara, who had found time to come and support him. She knelt beside him, holding his hands.
Lucas, I know it's hard, but you need to stop comparing yourself to others. your worth doesn't diminish by others' success. The love you put into your creations is what matters.
Clara's words, though simple, deeply touched Lucas. He realized that his insecurities were not only robbing his peace, but also his love for the things he loved to do the most. And so, still shaken, but with a new understanding beginning to germinate in his heart, Lucas decided he needed to find a way to transform his jealousy into love, for himself and for others. Determined to change, Lucas began seeking answers and guidance. He knew he couldn't face this battle alone. One peaceful afternoon, while walking in the park seeking clarity, he ran into a familiar figure in the community, an old friend of his grandfather named Sebastião. Sebastião was an elderly man with a white beard that gave him an appearance of wisdom and kindness. He was a gardener who tended to the city's public gardens, known for his patience and serene way of seeing life. Seeing Lucas, Sebastião smiled warmly.
"Lucas, my boy, it's been a while since I've seen you. How are you?"
Feeling at ease with the old friend's presence, Lucas opened up about his struggles with jealousy and insecurity. He spoke about the devastating effects these feelings were having on his life and how it was damaging his relationships and his art. Listening attentively, Sebastião nodded.
"You know, my young friend, jealousy is a weed that grows in the garden of our mind. If we're not careful, it chokes the most beautiful flowers we have. But just like in the garden, we can choose what to cultivate."
Intrigued, Lucas asked to know more. Sebastião then began to share his perspective on love and motivation. He explained that true love is not just about romantic feelings, but a deep commitment to one's own well-being and that of others. This kind of love, he said, is the foundation of true motivation and lasting happiness.
When you love what you do and the people around you, Lucas, you find strength you didn't know you had. Love is generous, patient, and always seeks the best for both oneself and others. And this starts with self-love, not selfishly, but with respect and self-care.
Sebastião suggested that Lucas begin practicing gratitude and compassion, both for himself and for others. He also recommended that Lucas find daily time to reflect on his accomplishments and the things he was grateful for, to start changing his perspective.
You'll see, Lucas, that by cultivating love and gratitude, jealousy will have no space to grow. Just as a gardener cares for his plants, you must care for your heart and mind.
Lucas felt a new hope ignite within him. Sebastião's words seemed simple but carried a deep truth. He knew the journey would not be easy, but he was willing to try. From that day on, Lucas committed to following Sebastião's advice and working to transform his jealousy into love and motivation. And so, with a new mentor and a new perspective, Lucas began taking the first steps in his journey of self-transformation. Armed with Sebastião's advice, Lucas began implementing small changes in his routine. Each morning before starting his work in the workshop, he spent a few minutes reflecting on 3 things he was grateful for. Initially, this practice seemed artificial, but over time, Lucas began to notice a subtle change in his perspective. In the workshop, he worked with renewed intention. Instead of worrying about incessant comparisons with other craftsmen, he focused on putting love and dedication into each piece he carved. Every cut in the wood, every meticulous detail, was an expression of the love he was learning to cultivate. Days were challenging. The old habit of comparing himself still arose from time to time, but Lucas now had tools to combat it. Whenever he felt jealousy taking over, he would stop, take a deep breath, and remember Sebastião's words.
Love is generous, patient, and always seeks the best.
Clara, noticing the change in Lucas, was impressed and touched by his efforts. She saw a new sparkle in his eyes, a tranquility that was previously absent. One quiet night, while walking together in the park, Clara expressed her pride and support.
Lucas, I've noticed how hard you've been working to change. It's inspiring to see you put so much love into what you do. I believe in you.
These words were powerful fuel for Lucas. He felt he was beginning to find a new balance, a new way of dealing with his emotions. Even so, he knew the journey was just beginning. In the artistic community, Lucas also began to notice small changes. Instead of isolating himself, he reached out to other craftsmen, offering help and sharing techniques. This act of opening up to others brought a sense of camaraderie he had never experienced before. He realized that by supporting others, he was also strengthening his own sense of value and purpose. At one of the weekly community gatherings, Lucas had the opportunity to present a new collection of sculptures. Nervous but trusting the process he had begun, he spoke about his personal journey and how he was trying to transform jealousy into love and motivation. The response was warm and encouraging. People not only admired his works, but also respected his honesty and vulnerability. Lucas felt that by opening his heart, he was creating deeper bonds with those around him. And so, gradually, Lucas began to see the fruits of his effort. His relationships became more solid, his art more appreciated, and his own sense of worth and peace strengthened each day. He realized that the journey of self-transformation was continuous, but with love as a guide, he was capable of overcoming any obstacle. The story of Lucas reminds us that jealousy, though powerful, can be transformed through love and self-awareness. It teaches us that the best source of motivation is not external, but comes from within, from a heart full of love and gratitude. If you also struggle with jealousy or insecurity, remember that you are not alone. Seek support, practice self-love, and strive to transform your negative feelings into positive actions. As Lucas learned, the path is not easy, but it is worth every step. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to share your own story and experiences in the comments. Your story can inspire and help others, just as Lucas's story can inspire us all.